Okay, so this is Tehilim 28, day 23. And because of our short amount of time and because this is part of three or day three, I'm not going to reread it in English. Okay. So L'David Elecha Hashem Ekra, Suri al Techarash Mimeni, Hen Techashe Mimeni, V'nimshalti im Yordei Vor. Shema Kol Tachanunai, Bishavi Elecha, V'nasi Yadai al Dvir Kachecha. Al Tim Shecheni im Rashaim V'im Pole Avin, Dovre Shalom, Imre Ehem, V'ra Bilvavam. Tain lahem kifalam ukro ma'al alehem kamas edehem tain lahem hashiv gnulam lahem ki lo yavinu el pulos adoshem vel masiyadav yehersem vel masiyadav yehersem v'lo yivnein baruch adoshem ki shama kol tachanunai adoshem uzi umagini bo ef batach libi v'nezarti vayalos libi umishiri ahudenu adoshem oz lamo umaoz yishos mishichohu hoshia esamecha uvarechas nachasacha uraim v'naseim ad ha'olam. Okay, so quick review of what we did last time. Takanunim and Hoda, and those were the two halves, basically, right? Takanunim and Hoda. The main idea was that David HaMelech is asking for help for protection against the enemies that are duplicitous, because he can't spot them. And they are therefore very dangerous. Only Hashem can stop them. And if they bring him down, so he'll end up going down without any legacy that's being compared to the people who go to the grave. They don't take anything with them. And the argument he's making is that they are not involved in Yedias Hashem. So my take on it, so there were three takes. There was mine, Yosef's, and Oren's. Mine was that they're not involved in the value system that the whole Malchus is built upon. And therefore, there's no justification for allowing them to succeed. If they were in the same value system, and then maybe they'll be more successful than David, maybe David's in the wrong, but no, he's dedicated to this. So they should be paid back and destroyed and not rebuilt. And then David HaMelech acknowledges that he took security only in Hashem, and that he was doing it for the sake of his nation, as you see from the fact that he concludes with the Tefilah of saving God's inheritance and exalting them forever, because that's what the whole thing is about. And whatever happens to David endangers the Malchus. So what we got from there in terms of takeaways was to, first of all, to do Takanunim, right? That not to rely on your zechus or to feel like that God has to answer you because of your zechus. But just because you're doing Takanunim doesn't mean that you can't ask for me to sit in for the Rashayim. Okay. And then we also said that if you frame your bakashos in terms of the value system of Hashem, then that's the more effective tefillah. Okay. Then in terms of Yosef's idea for Pasuk 5 was they don't realize that David's Malchus, they don't acknowledge that David's Malchus is Hashgachas Hashem. So therefore they think that they can undermine it. And that's what he's invoking, saying that because they're doing that, then they should be paid back. And I don't remember Orange.
We need Orange.
Yeah. Okay, fine. This is Tuesday. It's the
crowd is thin.
Yeah, crowd thin day. Okay. So what we plan to do, unless there's anything else.
Well, I have a little bit of some issue in my mind with all of these approaches.
Okay, sure. I'm also not fully settled.
I don't know if you want to. I know we're gonna look at refreshing, so we can also do that. But for me, the main idea in this perek doesn't seem to be about Am Yisrael and really what's going on in the first section. Yeah. To me, because
it's only
goes through
at the
this
end.
whole progression in especially Pasuk 7.
Yeah.
Where he talks about his relationship to Hashem and how all these different parts of how he felt about what was going on, and that to me strikes me as the main.
Yep,
idea of this.
I definitely see that. I definitely it didn't set well with me either that the or with Alter, right? It throws in the nation at the end. So that might be a good lead into the Radak's approach, because the Radak says it's not about the nation.
Right, because I was thinking maybe the nation is an example. Him praying for the nation and supplicating that the right thing happen for the nation is an example of something about how we should approach Takanunim. Yeah, I'm not sure what it is exactly.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. Yeah, it's not going to be the essence. That's true. Yeah. All right, so let's do the Radak and see if that ends up being more satisfying. Okay, so Radak, we read parts of it last time, but not all the way through in sequence. Okay, so the Radak says, and we're gonna try to finish this today. So all right. Starts on the first page. Yeah, the last line. Yeah. L'David elach Hashem akra gamzeh mizmor minyan hamizmor shalafana. This is the same subject as the one before it. Shekore el Hashem shitin she'elaso, that he's asking Hashem to give him his request. Lahashkito me'iske ha'olam, to make him be at peace from the involvements in the world. Ulahaniach lo she'yeh panui lehisasek b'tzarchei nefesh, and so that he can have the freedom to involve himself in the needs of his soul. Shehi avodas elokim, which is the service of God. Ubezeh yechupru avonosav shavru, and that will bring him kapara for the avonos that he transgressed. V'tikarev nafshal elokim, and his soul will become close to God. So because we do recite the previous perek, even though we're not going to learn it right now, I just want to show you the line in that where you see that that's what it's about. It's in Dalid. I think it's in Dalid, yeah. Achas she'alti me'esad Hashem osa avakesh. One thing I ask from Hashem, that this is the thing that I ask for. Shifti b'veis Hashem kol yimei chayai, just that I sit in the house of Hashem all the days of my life. Lachazos b'noam ad Hashem, to gaze upon the pleasantness of Hashem, u'levaka b'heichlo, to visit his sanctuary. And let's look at the deficient Radak, just see what his pshat is, because if he's saying it's a continuation, then okay. Achas she'alti me'esad Hashem Amar emes hi ki b'batchi bo ki hu yatzileni mikol tzara. It's true that I'm trusting in you that you'll save me from every tzara. Nevertheless, I'm asking one thing from him. Did it change tenses? Wait, yatzileni. Oh no. So it's in the third person. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that he'll save me. So I'm asking one thing from him. The kefal inyan od, and repeats it. That's osa avakesh. Shifti b'veis Hashem kol yimei chayai. Oh, Yosef made it. Lahodia ki b'chol libo mevakesh osa lahashkito milchamos afa pishu boteach shakel. So that is to make known that b'chol libo, that with all of his heart he's asking for it, to give him tranquility from all the wars. Hey Yosef, I'm glad you made it. We just reviewed our ideas from last time we were doing the Radak now. Where are we now? Even though God promised to save him from every harm, nevertheless his heart is preoccupied with them. And it's preoccupied with the needs of the body. And it doesn't have any freedom to be involved in the tzarchei and nefesh. So the interesting thing you're seeing here so far is, apparently, and again, we haven't learned the rest of this perek, so we can't know for sure, God assured him that he's going to protect him, but it's still stressful, right? So like you can know, like it almost reminds me of Mordechai and Esther when he says, if you don't act now, then salvation will come from another place, and you and your father's house will be destroyed. So on the one hand, Mordechai is secure. God's not going to let Klal Yisrael be destroyed, but it was very, very stressful, and like he can't be involved in Avodas Hashem, Yeah.
But I mean, it turned out to be the best thing to do, to be involved in like the worldly thing.
Correct. And I don't know if David HaMelech is saying that he's not going to be involved in it. He's just asking though for this freedom. Let's see. Vishal me'es Hashem. He's asking from Hashem shiashkitehu min hamilchamos, that he quiet him from these milchamos, shlo yitztarch leisas b'hem, so that he doesn't need to be involved in them, so that his body and mind can be free to dwell in the house of Hashem. That is the house. Okay, I didn't know. I didn't have a question which house it is. That's the house that has the Aron in it with the Nevi'im and the Hasidim. Va'anshe Shem. V'asher Sham HaKohanim v'Halavim Kamo Asaf v'Echav Achiv Ushar Yirei Hashem HaOmnim Sham L'Hisasik Imahem V'Avodas Elokim B'Tzarchei HaNefesh. So all these good, the Avengers cast of characters of Chachamim. Yeah, Yosef.
He's like asking for like a retreat,
Retreat's actually the best word for it, right? It's a retreat.
Like just from like all the problems of Olam Hazeh.
Sounds like specifically, again, we're just pulling out this one Radak from the perek because he references it in our perek. So I don't know exactly. I mean, it looks like it's a similar thing. Bikrov alai mereim lechol es basari sarai v'oivayli hema kashel v'nafal. So it sounds like these guys who are trying to like antagonize him. Similarly, im taknei alai machnei lo yira libi im takum alai milchama bezos ani boteach. So people, not just the needs of Olam Hazeh, like we thought from first reading it, but like the things that are like really, threatening and like taking away all of his attention,
Right.
Yeah.
So does this like include like his normal jobs as melech?
I don't know, because the reason why I'm questioning that is in 28 he says so that he can be involved in avodas elokim. Now I understand that avodas elokim is going to involve Yedias Hashem, but being melech and teaching the people and stuff like that is also a part of avodas Hashem. And I also keep on thinking about my one of my favorite midrashic depictions of David. Not that I like have learned any of them, but the one where he says, if I knew where to find this, I would look it up right now, but it's going to take me too long. Where he's like examining the like afterbirths of women to be done, whether like how formed the fetus was before it miscarried, so that he can tell whether like they're Tomei or not or whatever. So he's saying like the kings of the Umas Olam are involved in riches and power and all this stuff, and I'm here with my hands covered in filth serving you, and he's saying it like as a sheva, so sounds like he would classify the duties that are like a positive fulfillment in like leading the nation towards these values as avodas Hashem, but like enemies trying to lie to bring him down, even though that's like preserving the avodas Hashem, that's not like the type of avodas Hashem you want to be involved in. Yeah.
It's interesting because the Radak in that perek is talking kind of
in 29,
27.
27. I meant, yeah.
He's talking basically about like mentioning like Milchamos a lot and like maybe things happening from like other nations, whereas 28 seems to be people more like within
his court, it almost,
or like like in the court who are like duplicitous and
true, yeah.
And his kind of against them is like they don't know the ways of Hashem.
Right, that's a good point. And we I don't know, we or I made that point last time that I think when we were talking about why it singles out Lo Yavinu, why it seems to characterize the Rishaim by Lo Yavinu El Pu'ulas Hashem. That's like, for lack of a better term, that's like a high level Russia. Like if that's the only thing you're doing bad, like you're not trying to rape and pillage and steal and worship of Avodah Zarah, like, okay, fine, you're not in line with the value system, but so it sounded like Jews,
right. So, well, I guess like if these people are like maybe like high up in the society of Am Yisrael, I could see it being like a big problem like this. They just don't have the mission statement. Right,
exactly. Yeah, that's a good way to put it. Yeah, so I agree with your division of the two types of enemies. I mean, again, without even learning this, it does sound like there are a lot bigger threats nationally in 27 than in 28. Let's finish reading the Radak on 27:4. Lachazos b'noam Hashem u'levakir b'heichalo, to contemplate the pleasantness of Hashem. She lo pnai levakir tamid b'heichalo, literally to visit the heichal. She lo pnai levakir tamid b'heichalo v'hu habayis ashaya bo ha'aron. O pirusho b'shamayim. Okay, heichal could also mean shamayim. Kamosh Amar Benu Amar Hashem, says the pleasantness of Hashem. Klomar Shiilo Pnai Lavakir Lachapis Bischalim Hanifradim. Okay, so the angels, the separate intelligences. Shem Malachi Shemayim Asher Hanefesh Gazra Mehem. The nefesh is hewn from Gazura Mehem. Ve'alehem Tashu Behechalo, and it will go back. So it's either contemplating, I guess, whatever the people in the Mikdash contemplate, or it's contemplating like metaphysical existences. Okay, let's go back to our perek. So again, theme of the perek is he's asking Hashem to give him quiet and tranquility from the iskei ha'olam in order to be involved in the tzarchei nefesh, which is avodas elokim, to get kapara. Now the kapara thing is the one I'm most curious about, because it didn't sound like in our perek he's really talking about kapara, for his averos. I don't even know if it mentions averos. Okay, let's see here. Tsuri al techarash mimeni. My rock, do not be silent from me or deaf to me. Milishmoa el sheilasi, to be deaf to, listening to my request. Ki yaresi, because I'm afraid. Pentecha Hashem imeni, lest you be deaf to me or silent from me. V'nim shalti im yordevor, and I become compared to those, likened to those who descend to the pit. So we interpreted that as like going down without possessions, but he says, Pen yehiyeh kimo harushaim yorde gehenom. So lest I be like the Rishaim who go to Gehenom, that's that pit, pit with a capital P. Shetelech la'avado nafsham b'mosam, that they will, their souls will be destroyed when they die. Umilas techarash Kumo tishto. Okay, takarash means to be silent. Klomer shetasi atmacha kecheresh. You make yourself like a deaf person. Shlo tishma v'lo ta'anani b'tfilasi. That you don't answer me, listen and answer me in my tefillah. Avchein pen tachashet kumo es lachashos. Mitzvah Tzion made the same point that Kohelet says es lachashos ve'es ladaber, a time to be silent and a time to speak. So it means to respond. So interesting thing here. What kind of argument is this? He's saying, don't let me go down to the pit, to Gehenna, and therefore you should answer me. You shouldn't be, in other words, if you're silent from me, then I'll go down to the pit. So, I mean, I guess my question is like, what is he worried about going down to the pit?
I mean, I guess if he's never like if he's never involved in a vote,
right,
then he won't, I don't know how to think about it exactly, but like he won't like get enough reality, like he won't like be involved in truth enough in order to like, I guess, have this soul be the way he wants.
Yeah, you know, I was talking with someone, you know, my weeks of my life chart of like, you know, checking off. So I was talking about that with someone, and we were talking about how scary it is that like you can, you know, wake up and see that you spent your whole life doing something that allegedly was not your values, but evidently that's what you value because you spent your whole life that way. So it's very easy to imagine David and Melech, you know, like a lot of people who get involved in you know, politics and government, like saying, well, I value all of these things, but the practical necessities of your malchus require you to constantly be involved in stuff. And then before you know it, that's how you spend your entire malchus. And if you've got enemies coming after you, right, so then like you might have a very short time. Yeah, Yosef?
Wouldn't you say that being involved in the Malchus gave his soul reality? Like that is being involved in reality. You know, he's building a Klal Yisrael.
Right, but here's the thing: there's different levels of reality, right? I mean, in terms of like setting something up to you know, have stability in the Malchus and protection for Am Yisrael, that's definitely contributing to the project of Avraham Avinu. But let's put it this way: if David could be free to write 150 more prakim of Tehilim, you know, I think we'd be better off, you know, than like if all that time he spent like running away and like saving his life, if he spent that, I mean, I'm sure he gave him a lot of material, but like, you know, he would prefer to guide Klal Yisrael and to, you know, to help them be involved in learning and to protect himself so that it could have a spillover effect, maybe get nevuah, maybe, you know, like there's higher levels that he could be involved in. Yeah.
I just know you're going to feel like you're also missing out the important part. You probably want his sons to be alive.
That's also true. Yeah, a lot of family issues. Yeah, that's true. That's true. Yeah, not lead rebellions against him. Yeah, yeah. Okay, so so the answer to your question is yeah, that would be Avodas Hashem, but that's really a means to an end. The establishing the Malchus is a means so that everyone can be involved in this type of Avodas Hashem of contemplating, you know, Lachazos B'nom Hashem L'Vaka B'Hechalo. Yeah. Okay, right. So let's take it as that and assume that that's what he means right now. Like, I don't want to be involved in all these sidetracks because that would then let me end up going to Gehenna like the Rishayim. Not because I'm evil, but well, I guess we'll see how the Avonos come in. But because I'm almost like we referenced this pit in the thing we don't say. You know, the thing we don't say, the Tefilah of the Beis Midrash. Ani Ratz v'Hem Ratzim. Ani Ratz.
We don't say that.
I mean,
I don't used to say that.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard we possibly don't say that because our halacha is not involved in like resulting in halacha l'maisa. That's what I've heard whenever I've asked. But I think it's still a good tefillah. Like I run and they run. I run to. I see. I don't say it, so I don't know. I run to like Chai Olam Haba, and like they run to the Be'er Shachas, like they're running to the pit. You know. Okay. Shema kol takanunai b'shavi'i eilecha b'nasi yadi el devir kachecha. Okay, so that is habais shayasham. You know what I'm going to do? Editorial decision. I'm going to skip this one. I'll just summarize it. So he says either it's the actual sanctuary or it's a reference to Shemayim. Okay, I just want to get to the main ideas here. Okay, then in the next one, al tam shicheni, do not let me be drawn in shlo amos most Rishayim, that I don't die the death of Rishayim. Yes, See, now he does sound like he's actually worried about becoming a Russia. Don't let my soul be gathered in with sinners. And after him, every man is drawn. Shapirusha yimshoch el hamisa, drawn to death. The dovrei shalom imrehem v'ra bilvavam, those who speak with peace with their friends, and there's evil in their heart. Kirov harshaim inam megali matzmam. Most Rishaim don't reveal themselves. Umarim shalom imrehem, and they demonstrate peace with their friends. V'yachshavu ra bilvavam. Yeah, what are you gonna say?
I mean, maybe for someone who was like already on the level of David Amalek, like dying and not continuing to improve yourself is like, you know, like what was he doing?
Yeah,
like
that could be.
He needed to, like a person I think on that level needs to like keep getting to a like higher level.
Right. Yeah, you know, it's not exactly what you're saying, but it reminds me of the Arba Shenifnus of Lepardes, you know, those 4 Tanaim. Mm-hmm. So the way they say it is Rabbi Kiva went in peace and came out in peace. Mm-hmm. Acher went in and then uprooted the shoots. And then Ben Azai, I think it's Ben Azai Hitit Umes, and then Ben Zoma. Ben Azai Hitit V'nifka. One of them became crazy. The other one died, right? Mm-hmm. So the Rashbat explains all of them and says it doesn't mean that he died, because like, okay, Acher becoming an Apikoros, that you could take literally, you know. Going crazy, he says, whichever time went crazy means that it messed up his imaginative faculty, you know, a way where like he couldn't distinguish reality from imagination. But then Mace, I believe the Rashbat interprets that to mean that he stopped developing, you know. So when you stop developing, especially if you're a Tana, that's like death, you know, like he stopped gaining and developing, like you could be stunted, you know. So not exactly as far as most Rishaim, but you know, yeah.
Over here, are you forgetting about the part in Tanakh where David arranges for a man to die so that he can marry Bathsheba? I'm
not forgetting that. There's a lot of problems with that story. Yeah. That's not going to affect the way I interpret this. Okay. Tain lahem kafalam. Give them in accordance with their deeds. You are the only one who knows their deeds. You know the hidden things. Lefikach shalim lahem k'maaseim harayin. Pay them back with their evil action for their evil actions. Ki ata yudei risham. Okay, so that's kind of like the Malbim said last time, that David can't point to specific Rishaim and say destroy these people. Right. He did that in the last perek. Here, these are the ones who are duplicitous, though. So Hashem's the only one who knows. Okay, then this we read last time, but this is going to be a key point.
You must know a little bit.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, the ones who are shifty. Kilo yavinu, the ones who don't look at them in the eye when they talk. Yeah. Kilo yavinu, they don't understand. Enam is asking avodas hakel. They don't. They're not involved in avodas hakel. So this is the one. This is where we define avodas hakel, which is v'enam nosnim lev lahavin. They don't devote their minds to understand. Except in the matters of the vanities of the world. Yeah.
Okay. That was me thinking.
That's what they spend their time with, applying their chachma and bina to. Like the Navi says, meaning that they're chachamim, but they use it for evil and they don't know good. And here's where he defines the avodas Hashem: v'hahavana v'hahashgacha v'pu'ulas Hashem of ma'aseyadav. The understanding and contemplation of the pu'ulas Hashem and His handiwork. He avodas elokim. That is of the avodas elokim. And that is lahavin b'chachmas hateva uvepu'ulosav, to understand the natural sciences and God's creation. U'ma'aseyadav b'shmayim u'va'aretz, and His handiwork in the heavens and on earth. Umisham yisbonin ma ma'aseh elokim. That's where you'll understand the works of God. The shehakol me'itel, and that everything is from Him. V'hu hasiba rishona. He's the first cause. And then he brings a proof from this pasuk in Yeshayahu, and Chazal say that's people who don't study astronomy. Mm-hmm. And Yeherseim, may they be destroyed, and may they not be rebuilt, is Tefilah. And he says, hold on, V'tam Yeherseim keneged el pu'ulos Hashem, him lo yavinu el pu'ulos Hashem, v'hu yaharos pu'ulasam u'maseidem. So they don't contemplate God's deeds, so He'll destroy their deeds. Right. Yeah.
So I think this is similar to what we were saying before. Like, it's juxtaposing how like David wants to be acting, like understanding Hashem's ways and whatnot, versus how these people act, where they're involved in like nothingness in
Right.
their own ways. And I think when he said that he would like be dying the death of Rishaim, it's like if he just continued acting in that way, and then he dies, that's he died in the same way that they died.
Yeah.
Which is having been involved in their own world and not
what you're saying reminds me of the who do we see are called Rishaim that were involved in their own world of like their own Hana'ah, and it wasn't like villainous Rishaim. I believe were you here when we did the first perek in Tehilim last year?
I don't remember.
Okay, so the first perek is and I don't remember if this is the Radak or the let me see, hold on. Tehilim 1. Search engine worked for once. Ashrei ha'ish asher lo halach ba'atzas rishaim uv'derech chataim lo amad uv'moshav leitzim lo yashav. So the question is like, what's the order here? So there's a way to read it where rishaim is the least bad, chataim are worse, and then leitzim are even worse than that. Difficult read, but I just want to see how the Radak read it. If the Radak's the one I was thinking of. Radak says rishaim. The Radak's one who says this. He says, "Harshaim him hacharedim liknos mamon." People who tremble to get money. The tavas lima ba'olam hazeh. People's tavas are in olam hazeh. V'lo yavchinu bein tov tov hara. V'yignavu v'yigzlu v'yahargu b'avur hamamon mirov cherdas libam. Okay, so he takes it a little bit further than the Meiri is the one I was thinking of. Meiri says it's people who are just involved in like material pursuits. And he calls them Rishaim, and he brings a bunch of proofs that sometimes in Tanakh, Russia doesn't mean evil. It means people who are preoccupied with money. Mm-hmm. Okay, so like I'm not saying that that's necessarily what he's talking about here, but it is it could be a tamer version of, people who are striving after political power, maybe, yeah. But going back to your original point, you're saying that David is worried that his energies are going to be taken up in these kinds of pursuits, and his Chachma and Bina are going to be funneled to that. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay, that makes sense. Okay, Baruch Hashem ki shama kol tagnai derech nevuah v'nasan hoda alakav shama tefilasa. Okay, so he's saying this is nevuah. So even though it hasn't happened yet, he's giving preemptive thanks based on nevuah that God listened to his tefillah. V'chein haya, that's true. Ki ba'achri sayamav haysa siba me'es Hashem v'haya David b'sakana im yoshve benov. Okay, so this happened. Where David was in Sakana, and we don't have the luxury to look into that right now. Hashem, and especially we got the matir of the Malbim, who says you could apply this to any of David's sorrows. Yeah. Hashem Uzi, B'shuruk Ha'ayin, V'amar derech shevach v'hoda'a, Umagini, Shatileni Miyoshvi Benov, Sha'amar Lahak was as David. Okay, they wanted to kill him. Boba Tachli Bi Shiazrini Mimenu Va'ava Pi Shahisi the Sakana Gadola, even though I was in great danger. Vinazarti Kamosha Kasaviyazorlo. So he's really going and taking this as a very specific incident.
Yeah.
Okay, fine. Ella Pirush Vialos Libi, Sichli, my intellect rejoice. Lefi Osa Siba Nishbu Anshe Shalo Eitze Lemilchama Od. Okay, so that's when my men swore not to go out to war anymore. The Samach, Hasecha, Shenifrad Mi'iske Ha'olam. So that's when my intellect rejoiced at separating from the world. Vihilo Panai Lisasu Vidarke Halakim. Okay, that's when he got what he wanted. Mishirai Ahudenu. Lefikach eten lo hoda'a. Mima eten lo mishiri ahudenu bishirusi uvizmirusi. Yeah, Yosef.
I just had a question from before. Are we saying that he doesn't want to be like the Rishaim, that they not only just like put their energies towards other things, but they also put their chachma, other things, that he doesn't want to be like them? Yeah. Or are we just saying that he doesn't want their energies to be?
No. I think that's a good distinction. I wasn't not making the distinction there. It sounds like
he's saying like the chachma, like the corruption of the tzelim, right? Like,
exactly. Yeah, that's a great point, right? So he's saying that so that's why the Radak emphasizes where did it start? Shem mischakmim umuvinim aleihim. They apply their chachma tuna not to the pulos Hashem, but to the havle ha'olam, and their chachamim lehera. Right. So it's a corruption of the Tehilim Elokim. Okay,
Right.
very well said. Yeah.
And so, but I'm wondering, like, is he comparing himself to, like, when he says, I don't want to go down to the bore and he doesn't want to be like this Rishayim, he's saying that, like, just like how they put their chachma into useless things, or is he saying that he just doesn't want to put his energy? There's a difference in energy and chachma.
I think, yeah. So I think you could read it two ways. You could say that they're going down to the bore. No, maybe you can't read it two ways. Hold on. See, I'm getting from the Radak now, with this emphasis on Iskei Ha'olam Hazeh and portraying the Rishayim that way. It sounds like he's saying that if I were to be well, let's take one step. If my energy were to be involved in worldly pursuits, which in this case would be like just spending all day trying to defend myself against like my enemies, even though this is for a good purpose, then I would be dying the death of Rishayim. So Yosef's question is it just his energy is tied up in that, and therefore it's not free to work in Chachma? Or is he worried that the fact that his energy is tied up in that is going to corrupt his Chachma and his Tvuna? I mean, are those really functionally going to be any different in his case? In other words, David's going to apply his Chachma no matter what. And if he's forced into a situation where he just has to be like looking around him for like backstabbers, his Chachma will be involved in like that kind of that pursuit.
But the question is really like, is it the energy that's the problem, or is it the chachma?
Yeah,
right? So because like the chachma is no matter what, but then the question is just which one is he? Like functionally, he's asking for the same thing, but like, what's the rishus?
That's a good question. That is a good question. I just want to see if there's a clue in that pasuk in Yeshayahu he quoted 5:17. Apparently, I highlighted those things. Not from this year. Oh, from my shiur on the third bracha of the Shemona Esrei. That's where I recognize this from. Maybe. Is this what pasuk 5? Yeah, last year, earlier in the year, 5:12. V'haya kinor v'nevel tofa chalil v'yayin mishtem v'es pol Hashem le'yavitu v'emase yadav lo ra'u v'chein gala ami b'li da'as v'chuvodo mesei ra'a v'hamono tziche tzama. Okay, I'd have to relearn this in order to recover it. Okay, so let's keep Yosef's question in mind and read to the end, and then see if we get any more clues. But that's a good question. Is the quality of rishus coming from the absorption of energies or the corruption of the Tehilim Elokim? Okay, so the Radak says Hashem owes lamo v'kivin sheyashav hu b'veis Hashem. Once he sat in the house of Hashem, he's pala al Yisrael shehi lahem owes b'teisam l'milchama. So he's telling this is sequential. In other words, he got what he wanted. He's in the house of Hashem, and now he's davening for Klal Yisrael that they have a. Is this chronological? I thought he just got done with the war. But now he's saying She'ilahim oz b'teisam l'milchama shelo yerach levavam, that their heart shouldn't become soft. So he doesn't have to go to war. Klal Yisrael still does. So he's saying he's hoping that they get salvation. Like, see you guys. Like, I hope you guys are okay when I'm not there. V'yitain Hashem lahem oz b'milchamtam. Milchamasam Hashem should give them strength in their war. V'yigbru al oiveihem, they should prevail over their enemies. Uma oz yeshuos mishichahu. And he is and God is the strength of the salvations of his anointed one. Mishichahu, Omer al Atmo. He's saying that about himself. Shu Mashiach Hashem. Kamosh Amar, when you're Mashiach, you could refer yourself in the third person. Kamosh Amar Gamkein al Atmo, Mashiach Elokei Yaakov. Amar Hashem Yihye Oz Lamo li Yisrael, Kamosh Haya Ma'uzi B'Teisim Imaim L'Milchama. Hashem should be for Israel a strength, just like he was for me when I went out to war. Vav Uma Oz Inyano Ka'asher. Kamo Imlo Yishba'u V'Yalinu P'chein V'Sifse Renanos Yehalal Pi. Is there any more, Radak? Yeah, okay, fine. Yeah, Yosef?
Did we say last time that the reason why he refers to himself as Mashiach is because that's his role in the Am?
Yeah, I think you wanted to say that you were saying that the fact that they don't contemplate the work of Hashem means that they don't realize it's Hashgacha, and that's why he recalls the fact that he was anointed by Hashem, No,
I'm saying more like in terms of forget about my theory in specific, but but in general, is the reason why he's saying he's Mashiach Is just because like that's like his like zechus in the am? Like
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I can think of a lot more terms than Mashiach. I mean,
Melech.
strange, especially because if he's learning that this is at the end of his kingship, like towards the end, then like it's not like he was recently anointed. Like I can see that being relevant when his kingship was initially challenged. I don't know. Yeah, I'm not sure. Okay, let's get to the end and then try to get something out of the entire perek because we don't have that much time. Oh yeah. Okay, here it is. Hoshia, Hoshim Mioivim, save them from their enemies. Ubarech Osam B'masei Yadam, and bless their endeavors. Ureim Kuroe Edro Yireh, like a shepherd, shepherds his flock. V'naseim Ad Kol Al Kol Ha'amim, over all the nations. Ad Ha'olam Tefilasi Aleim Ben B'yimei Chayai Ben Achrei Mosi. My tefillah should be effective for them, I guess, whether during my life or the life of my enemies. Ki Kol Yimei Olam, for the rest of the eternity. Upirush Ad Ha'olam Ad Sof Ha'olam, until the end of the world. Yeah, so it kind of got a little particular at the end. I mean, I really like the first half. And I mean, I guess the good news is that like 6, 7, and 8, 6 and 7, Radak learned that that's just playing out a case where this actually happened and he got what he wanted. So it's just instantiating it. It's not really like adding to the ideas. So what main idea and takeaway do we get from the Radak's reading of this entire thing? Did he explain? Oh yeah. So he said pay them back what they're doing because they don't contemplate the Pulos Hashem. Oh, so that's actually what do you call it? The thing I observed in the first time of the Pole Avin and Kafal Lam is connected to the Pulos Hashem. You know, they disregard the Pulos Hashem. Hashem will make sure their Pulos don't have any trace. Yeah.
Like if Hashem destroyed these people and they were not rebuilt.
Seems what?
Just seems that Hashem did what.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So no, I mean the thrust of it is okay. Let's put it this way. Okay, I got something. I don't know if this is the essence, but this is a takeaway. Okay. I think one argument you can make to Hashem is I want to be free to learn. Okay. And that's any Tehilim Elokim, like, you know, that's a good thing, right? But it's a very different argument to say that if I don't have this freedom to learn, it's a very different argument to say if I have this freedom to learn, then that's what I'm going to do. Like, I know I'm going to be able to do this. And if I don't, I'm in danger of being drawn into the value system of all these other people. And then I'll die the death of Rishayim, you know, okay, there's all right, I don't like to use there's a great Thoreau quote where he says like hold on, I gotta get it because it's a matir for me to say what I'm going to say. I think it's the first Thoreau quote that I have in the document. Yeah. So he says, in most books, the I or first person is omitted. In this, it will be retained. That, in respect to egotism, is the main difference. We commonly do not remember that it is, after all, always the first person that is speaking. And here's the line I wanted to take as a motto for myself. I should not talk so much about myself if there were anybody else whom I knew as well. Unfortunately, I'm confined to this theme by the narrowness of my experience. Okay, so I don't want to use myself as an example of this, but I will. Is I was thinking this morning about how I woke up at 6, and today I had a chavrusa and six shiurim, teaching all day. Well, this is number 5. I got one more after this. And I'm just involved in learning and teaching all day. I often shudder to think what would happen if I were not in chinuch as a job. I cannot say that my attachment to learning would be such that I would stick to that as a value and continue developing myself. I would love to be able to say that, but I think that would just be foolish to say that. So I think that's an argument here is that David is making, which is David is, you could point to David and say that he's definitely someone who values learning. Okay. And I don't think it's egotistical for me to say that I'm someone who values learning. But David is saying, if I get bogged down in all these other things, especially if my malchus is at stake, if I'm trusting these people and they're betraying me, I'm going to get pulled down into applying my chachma and tevuna to these other things, to iskei ha'olam, and I'm not going to be involved in learning. Right. And based on that, I'm asking you to help me, Hashem. And I think that's, again, I don't know if that's the theme of the Mizmor. That's a takeaway for us, I think, is that when you, I don't know how you guys formulate your tefillos in terms of, I specifically in Chonin Hadas and Barech Aleinu are the two areas that this pertains to, I think, the most. Chonin Hadas being, for giving you chachma, but then Barech Aleinu being like being able to support yourself to be able to have chachma. Then I think this is a very good argument to make that like the more you have to worry about iskei ha'olam hazeh, then not only is it going to detract from your learning time, but it might actually detract from your energy, or even worse, corrupt your tzelim elokim, where all the mental energy that you're expending, you only have a certain amount of energy in the day. Right. And if you're expending all of that in your tzrachim, even tzrachim for a good purpose, like this is a better purpose than anything, is sustaining the malchus. Mm-hmm. It's gonna take you away from your learning. Like in other words, there's a threat here. You're not just asking Hashem for a benefit. You're saying that your servant, meaning David, is threatened by what can happen to him if these things mount, if these problems mount. Yeah, that's a good takeaway. I don't know if that's the theme of the perek. I don't know if I'm like, yeah.
You can see like that he's working within this framework, David HaMelech, when he's praying to Hashem, because he's framing the Rishayim as people who don't understand the actions of Hashem and aren't trying to move, I guess, towards that understanding.
Correct.
He
right.
wants to be able to move towards that.
Yeah. It really is like that. The Tefilah that I should quote the Tefilah instead of just like not quoting it. The thing I'm referencing.
Just that you see that like he was in the right framework such that it worked, and Hashem did.
Right.
Help him out.
Right. That's true. That's good for us, by the way, in terms of like seeing an example of it. Mm-hmm. That arts is going to be too many. Be'er Shachas. Okay, this is the one. When you go out of the Beis Midrash, when you leave, you say, Modeh ani lefnecha Hashem Elokai. I thank you, Hashem, my God. Shesamta chalki b'yoshvei Beis Midrash, v'lo samta chalki b'yoshvei Kranos. That you place my lot with those who sit in the Beis Midrash, the Ashrei Yoshvei Beisecha, Shivti Beis Hashem Kol B'Chayai, Lo Samta Chalki Yoshvei Kranos, and not those who sit, and my lot you did not place with those who sit on corners. Leitim. She'ani mashkim, I get up early. V'hem mashkimim, they get up early. Ani mashkim l'divrei Torah, I get up early for divrei Torah. V'hem mashkimim l'dvarim b'tehilim. Wow, I'm really feeling this. They get up early for nonsense. Ani amel, they work. Ani amel, v'hem amelim. I work and they work. Ani amel u'makabel sachar. I work and I get reward. V'hem amelim einam u'makabel sachar. They work and they don't get reward. Ani rat, I run. V'hem ratim, and they run. Ani rat l'chaylam haba. I'm running to olam haba. V'hem ratim l'ver shachas. So by contrasting himself with these Rishayim, he is saying like there's this spectrum, and you're going to be running in one direction or the other. Mm-hmm. And if you don't help me, Hashem, with this, I'll be running in that direction, Right. Yeah. Okay. That's good. All right. I think we got some good stuff from the perek, even though we didn't finish everything. Now, what's going to happen next time, B'li Neder, Ken and I started working on the shiur hamalos. Different animal. Okay. Yeah. So we started the first one, very different, not very clear compared to what we're doing here. Part of the problem is they're much shorter. So maybe what we can try to do, I have not worked anything out yet in terms of like anything definitive. Let's dip our toe into it on Thursday, see what we get, and then see if we want to continue it and try it. Why did we pick it? I know you didn't ask that, but why did we pick it? Because I think we did talk about possibly doing that at one point, but also there is a theory. One of the whole question is like, what are these malos? So is it the malos of the Beis Mikdash? Is it malos because of some weird water thing that the Midrashim say? One theory is that it's a lila regel.
Interesting.
And so cool. In my whole project of So I don't know, but maybe. But all right, we'll see what happens. All righty. All right. Have a good evening. Glad you can make it, Yosef.
Have a good night.
Yep. Bye.